The Flash family moves at such a fast speed that the concept of a 1-minute war seems like something that should have happened a while ago. But it is in fact happening here. Last time, an army known as the Fraction arrived in speed time, activating all of the Flash family members' abilities. Ira West was killed in the initial attack by the Fraction, and the Flash family is now moving at top speeds to try and end this war within a minute. But now the family has discovered how the Fraction is powering everything that they have. It's by storing people and metas into batteries. This was discovered by Wally when he opened up a battery brought back by Impulse in Kid Flash. But where will the story take us next? This is Comicstorian. We create audio dramas of your favorite comic books. Complete stories are 2 to 3 issues of a comic book arc explaining the topic that I've placed into the title, while full stories are a combination of all of those videos into one convenient movie format. Today is a complete story, and if you like what you see here, check out your local comic book store or go to a digital retailer to add the stories to your collection and support the industry. Now let's get into The Flash, 793 and 794. A little bit of time passes after Wally discovered Superman was one of the metahumans being used as a battery, and the group of frozen metahumans are now moved inside of the Flash family household. Wally and Barry stand before the frozen Superman, who's actually trying to move very slowly. Superman is trying to say. Impulse looks at the Man of Steel. "Is this gonna take all day?" he asks, and Barry nods. I'm sure with enough time, Superman might be able to catch up, but right now it must look all like a blur to him. The trio return to the others, where the young Conduit explains that he was a corrections officer that was jumping through dimensions when he was captured by the Fraction and turned into a living battery to power their ship. He explains that the Fraction's technology allows them to tap into the Speed Force, and it is in everything from their armor to their vehicles. "But I've noticed that we're still going a little faster than them," Jay points out. The others nod, and Barry believes that the Spire must act as an antenna to allow them to channel the Speed Force through their tech. Wally nods, looking around. "If we can get that wall open, I can get to the Spire before they do something about it," he says, and everyone breaks up to prepare for the plan. With Wally leading Barry, Kid Flash, and Impulse into the garage, he shows them his old muscle car. "Okay, run that past me again," Barry says to Wally, and Wally tells him that if they put one of the Fraction engines into this car, he might be able to drive it into the Spire. If these things work the way you're thinking, an organic conduit should be able to speed it up so that it becomes a moving bomb, Wally says, and Barry nods, believing that the engine could create a friction barrier that could protect Wally from the bomb. After a bit more discussion of the plan and the possible pitfalls, Barry looks at the two young speedsters. "All right, boys, let's get to work." We have a montage of preparation, and when it's all done, Jay asks if they're ready. Ira comes in wearing her costume, wondering when she gets to join the fight, but Wally tells his daughter that she has to stay behind and protect the frozen heroes. She starts to argue, but Jesse Quick steps up to the young girl. "What would happen if somebody broke in and stole the greatest hero on Earth?" she asks as she motions to Superman. "We need to protect Superman, our man, and all of the rest. I don't know if it's any bigger than that." She fist bumps Ira. "Flash girls forever," they both say with a smile. Jay reminds them all that if something goes wrong, they can all cut their losses and return to the base. But Barry shakes his head. "No, we're gonna finish this today, no matter what," he says harshly. He walks into the next room with Wally following him, and Barry admits to Wally that Iris asked him to marry her at the last moment. But he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a ring, revealing that he was going to ask her himself. Wally pulls Barry into a hug. "Barry, we're gonna make them pay, you hear me? You and me. We're gonna make sure these people never do this again," he promises. So a short time later, the battle for our future has begun. The speedsters are attacking the wall, drawing the Fraction's attention, and Barry wields one of the Fraction's cannons, shooting at their aircraft and getting their attention. "Showtime, Wally," he says over the radio, and Wally nods, revving the muscle car's new Speed Force engine. He begins to roar towards the city at super speed. The rest of the speedsters are trying to keep the wall open for Wally, but Jay is suddenly blasted from behind. The commander lifts Jay up, an energy weapon piercing the old speedster's back. "You thought you had a chance, didn't you? Hiding in some hole making plans? Well, we found out, and Miss Murder is infiltrating your headquarters. Soon you'll be in my care, all for the glory of the Fraction." The commander gloats. Meanwhile, back at Mr. Terrific's base, Ira is trying to keep herself entertained, but she hears a strange noise coming out of the darkness. Hello? She calls out as she gets up to investigate, and a low growling emits from the shadows. Back with Jay, the commander leans over his shoulder. What was your plan? Open the section of the wall for what? A frontal assault? Jay looks up and smiles. Now that would just be stupid, he gasps. Elsewhere, Jess and Linda have held open a second portion of the wall, allowing Wally to blaze through with his Speed Force car. But the commander calls back to the command desk, ordering them to use the emitter on Wally's car and overpower him. A blast of Speed Force energy fires out of the top of the spire, hitting Wally in his car. He's suddenly held still and can feel his body disintegrating. I can't phase! I'm not like this! He gasps before disappearing. The commander laughs as he drops Jay to the ground. That's the problem with heroes. You put your heart into everything, thinking that if you just try hard enough, it's going to be okay. Back with Ira, she stands her ground, guarding the frozen heroes. I don't know who you are, but you can't have them, she shouts at Miss Murder. But the hunter rushes forward, grabbing Ira by the throat, lifting her into the air. The two hounds begin to sniff around Superman, who is still moving at a mere fraction of a second. As Miss Murder holds Ira up close, Superman manages to push through, and he grabs one of the hound's tails. This distracts Miss Murder for a moment, and Ira is able to kick her way free. She rushes over to her brother Jai, throwing him at Miss Murder. My brother turns Speed Force into strength, and Uncle Barry said that there's a ton of Speed Force spilling out everywhere, so Jai's probably super strong, which is great, because we've been practicing a couple of moves. I call this one a wrecking ball, she shouts, and Jai slams into Miss Murder and her hounds, which forces the hunter to leave. I'll be back, young one, she says in Ira's mind. I can't wait! The young speedster shouts, turning back to Superman, who has managed to look at her. Thanks for the assist. I guess you're still pretty great, she tells the Man of Steel. Now it's time to save the day, she says to herself. Back over at the Spire, the Flash family has now all been captured, but the ground begins to rumble around them, and the commander looks up in shock. Is that thunder? He wonders, and Jay smiles as he turns his head. No. That's my granddaughter. Ira is rushing forward, using her Speed Force powers to carry the super strong frozen Jai behind her. It's like your comic said, Jai. No one can determine my destiny but me. I am a hero, and there's nothing in this world that can stand in my way, she shouts, using her powers to fling Jai around the clearing, knocking the fraction forces away with her brother's body. She screeches to a stop before everyone. I figured out my superhero name. Call me Thunderheart. Come on. Let's go wham on some bad guys, she says to the other. Cool! Kid Flash and Impulse shout together as Max knocks one of the soldiers away and orders the kids to follow him. Elsewhere, Jess and Linda are shoved onto the Fractions tanks, but after the doors close, the driver turns back to them, pulling off his helmet to reveal the young conduit. Just sit back and relax, I'll take it from here, he tells the ladies with a smile. The rest of the Flash family continue to fight their way to Barry, as Barry begins to take a moment to tell Ira what happened. She then notices that the Fractions are dragging Jay back inside of the wall. Poppy! She shouts in anger, rushing forward, but the wall begins to close. Ira tries to throw Jai at them, but he bounces off the closed wall, and the rest of the speedsters turn as the tank rumbles towards them. But it comes to a stop, and the doors slide open to reveal Jess and the others. Get in before they come back with reinforcements, Jess shouts. So Linda gets in, rushing to Ira, who's pounding on the wall. Let me in! I'm gonna tear it down, I swear! She shouts, tears spilling out of her eyes. Linda rushes forward, pulling her daughter into a hug, as they both cry. And finally, Linda looks up to see Jai still bouncing into the wall. Is that your brother? She whispers in surprise. Later, inside of the Spire, the commander hits Jay again, forcing the old speedster to sag in his bonds. Tell me where your headquarters is, and the pain will stop, the commander tells him, but Jay smiles. Pain? Pal, this is nothing compared to the last time I was captured. They hit me so hard my molars came out. You're a lightweight. The commander smacks him again, but is quickly informed that Miss Murder has returned and knows the secret base of the speedsters. With that, the commander leaves the room, getting ready. But back at their base, everyone begins to mourn the death of Wally West, when Barry suddenly has an idea. He speeds past everyone, beginning to scribble on the whiteboard. Together we can fix this, he whispers to himself. Jess runs into the room to inform everyone that the fraction is approaching. But Barry turns to them all. I know how to win this war. Not just win, but make it so that this never happened in the first place. At the spire, the doctor leans over Jay, preparing to begin his experiments. Jay smiles, opening his mouth. Maybe you can start at my teeth. I think your boss might have loosened something. He then spits one of his teeth out at super speed, breaking through the doctor's armor. The laser drill falls onto the table, breaking Jay's bonds, allowing him to free himself. He gets to his feet, managing to knock out the soldiers that are rushing him. He then stands, catching his breath as he arms himself with the Fraction's weapons, hefting one of the rifles. All right, it's time for the Fraction to see what Jay Garrick can do. He grunts as he prepares for war. And that concludes 794. Now, we've got 2 more issues, I believe, coming out that are going to wrap up the 1 Minute War storyline, and a spin-off issue that just kind of tells you where Godspeed and a few other speedsters are. I thought Godspeed was dead. I don't remember when they said he came back to life, but you know what? Speedsters don't exist in normal timelines. They're all anomalies that can come back and whatever, so I guess we just have to accept it. Anyway, if you guys want to know what's happening next, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Our next video for Flash 1 Minute War should come out next Saturday, unless the next issue isn't out, but I believe it is. You can check out these comics yourself by going to the local comic book store or just going to your digital retailer. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe on your way out the door. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you for being there for me all these years and all along the way. I'll see you next time right here.